Dave Weinberg, the Eagles and boxing writer from the Press of Atlantic City here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Dave, how you been, my friend?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
Always good, man, and we're getting closer to the start of the season. You've been through a lot of these training camps, and I guess as you've evolved over the years, you see a lot of change the way that these coaches in the league really runs these camps. A lot less, excruciating hitting and the two-a-days. They're all out, and you don't see these guys do a whole heck of a lot of playing as much anymore. A lot of cautious coaches out there.
Yeah, it's much different than when I started. I remember the first training camp was at Westchester, and it was 2-a-day practices, hitting on both practices. 3-hour sessions, guys dropping over with dehydration and sweat and heat exhaustion, and it's a much different world now, and it's probably a safer one now too, because the collective bargaining agreement, the players were able to get their league to make some concessions to reduce the amount of practice time and the amount of contact, which I guess makes it a safer sport.
Yeah, and we know safety's a big thing. The Eagles obviously have a little bit of an injury issue. Graham a little bit, Hicks a little bit. But for the most part, they're a pretty healthy team entering this third preseason game. How much, Dave, do you anticipate seeing the starters tomorrow night?
Well, like I said, traditionally you see him like a half and into the third quarter. But
right.
Doug seemed to be leaning towards scaling that back a little bit tomorrow, because I guess partly because of the joint practices with the Miami Dolphins. He really liked what he saw. He thought that he got in some really good work there. So I think he's going to be erring on the side of caution and maybe pull him maybe midway through the second quarter or something like that.
Who are some guys that you think this third game is pretty meaningful for? Because a lot of times we don't know how to kind of evaluate the preseason anymore. So who are some guys tomorrow that you'll have your eye on?
Well, Wendell Smallwood will be one. He didn't play in the first two preseason games with a hamstring problem, and I kind of have a feeling, Doug won't admit this, but it seems like Corey Clement has really almost passed Wendell on the depth chart with the way he's played in the last two games, the way he's been practicing, and he's probably still a long shot to make the team. I don't know, but Wendell, I think, really has to step up his game and show them that he's back from that injury that hampered him last year, and just show what he's about, because he hasn't really shown much in training camp. There's some other guys. I guess let's see. Patrick Robinson would be another one. He hasn't gotten off to a really good start. He really struggled in the early stages of training camp, but I think he's got to show that he's capable of maybe being that nickel corner that they're looking for. Now that they got Ronald Darby with Jalen Mills on the outside, they needed somebody in the slot, and I guess Patrick Robinson's probably their leading contender for that. I want to see Isaac Samalo, to be honest with you. Doug keeps singing his praises. They traded Alan Barbary to Denver to give Isaac the starting job, but the offensive line really hasn't impressed me all that much, especially with the running game. So I kind of want to see him step up and show that he's worthy of being that starting guard that they need.
Yeah, you're right. They kind of handed him that job, and Barber's a guy that they seem to like the last couple of years, and he was a versatile guy. They can move him all over. He seemed like a guy that could play almost every position on the line except for maybe center. Those are guys you usually try to hold on to. I was a little surprised with that deal, so I agree with you on the Sayamalo stuff. Overall, though, a lot of people think this offensive line is going to be a strength. Do you concur, or are you a little disappointed with what you've seen from the line so far?
Well, it's kind of hard to get a read on it because they keep things so basic in the preseason. They don't game plan for anybody, so they're not double teaming guys. Although they better double team Ndamukong Suh if they want to run the ball tomorrow night. But I guess they seem to be okay from what I've seen. But I don't get how they're going to be this dominant offensive line. I don't think they were that last year. And Jason Kelsey's a pretty reliable center. Very intelligent player, very savvy, but he's not the biggest and strongest guy, so it's going to be tough to run up the middle, I think, with him in there. And I don't know. I just have to wait and see and see how those guys develop, because to be honest with you, I haven't been terribly impressed at this point.
Yeah, and one thing that's different from last year, well, for at least 10 games, was Lane Johnson back, and we all saw the record without him. You wonder if just adding him back will be at least a 2 to 3 game swing that they would need to get them back into the playoffs. Is he that important for them?
Honestly, no, he's not. If you're depending on a right tackle to improve your team 4 or 5 games in the win column, then there's something wrong. I don't get how they blame him or attributed their collapse to the fact that he missed those 10 games. I don't see how the right tackle is that important. You tell me he's the quarterback and he goes out for 10 games, or wide receiver or linebacker or something like that, I'll buy it, but not right tackle. I mean, he's a really good player and he's a really important piece of the offensive line, but I don't see where he makes or breaks the team for 3 and 4 games as wins and losses.
The running back situation, you kind of touched on a little bit there, but LeGarrette Blount, yesterday, Doug Peterson said he's a big part of the offense. He hasn't impressed much, but this is a classic case of what? I'm a 30-year-old guy. I don't need to go through training camp and look good, or are you concerned about Blount's role?
I'm a little bit concerned, although I didn't read much into last week's preseason game, only because you're never going to see a 260-pound LeGarrette Blount turn the corner on anybody. They brought him in here for one reason, that's to move the pile on the inside, and I think he's going to be able to do that. But I'm a little concerned about him, and Alshon Jeffrey too. He has this mysterious shoulder injury that's been sidelining him for most of training camp, and Doug keeps saying he's okay. It's just like a precaution, but I think he needs time to develop some chemistry with Carson Wentz, and the time is slipping away here. So I think he needs to get on the same page with Carson. To be honest with you, they just haven't done that yet.
Hey, Dave Weinberg's with us from the Press of Atlantic City, of course, longtime Eagles beat writer. They brought in Torrey Smith. A lot of people thought, hey, there's that guy they've been missing, that stretch the field guy. Last year they brought a couple veterans in. Both of them got cut. Is Torrey in trouble there, or do you think he makes the team and contributes?
I think he makes the team only because Shelton Gibson's been so bad. I thought that if he had shown anything as far as like downfield speed and reliability, being able to hold on to the football, I think they might have maybe considered letting Torrey Smith go. But I think the fact that Shelton has struggled so badly, I mean, he's going to be a long shot just to make the roster. So I think they're going to be depending on Torrey. They're just hoping that he can bounce back and be the player that he was a couple of years ago.
Hey, have you been impressed with the Hollins kid?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. He's I was kind of wondering how he was going to fit into this. I thought that they drafted him primarily to be a special teams guy, but that touchdown he had against Green Bay, that was really impressive, the way he stepped on the guy and, took it to the house 35 yards. And he's a big, strong, athletic-looking kid. So, I've been very impressed with him to this point. He'd be one of the standouts of the training camp, I think.
Dave Weinberg's with us from the Press of Atlantic City. You also wrote about Derek Barnett, and, of course, Barnett, the first-round pick. You said he looks to continue to impress in the preseason. He's a guy that I think a lot of people thought wasn't getting enough attention at the draft. Are you starting to see why?
Yeah, I am. And I was one of those guys. There was like 4 or 5 guys that I thought they would be better off drafting. And, that might prove to be true. But as of now, I mean, Derek looks very impressive. He is just so quick off the edge. Seems to be adding a little bit of versatility to his moves, not just relying on speed, but some other stuff. And he works a lot with Jason Peters during practice and after practice, which that shows me a lot, too. That shows me that he wants to get better. And, going against a 6-time Pro Bowler, you can't help but improve in those situations. So, yeah, I want to see him with the starters more, though, and I think you will. Especially if Brandon doesn't play. He's not supposed to play tomorrow, so maybe Derek gets that shot with the starting guys. So, they're not going to be able to keep him on the second team for very long.
Well, right. Who's in front of him right now? Who's he trying to leapfrog over? Because they do have, Curry making some good money. They've got, obviously, Long, who they brought in here. Means, who, is a hardworking kid. So what is the defensive end spot? Graham's going to be out there.
Yeah, I would put Graham and Barnett together. And to be honest with you, Chris Long's a nice guy. I haven't heard his name yet in a practice, in a preseason game, nothing, except for standing up for Malcolm Jenkins during the national anthem. But other than that, I mean, once the game started, I haven't seen him do anything yet. I mean, I'm sure he's capable of it. I mean, he's shown it by, making the Pro Bowls a couple of years with the Rams. But I was kind of hoping that he would maybe step up a little bit more to become more of a force, I guess. Maybe he will once the season really starts and the games count. But as of now, I've been impressed with Graham and Barnett. I would put those 2 guys out there. Although they rotate their defensive line so much that everybody's going to get a chance to play. So I guess it really doesn't matter that much who starts. But I would expect Barnett to be a really key part of the defense.
Getting Darby for you, Dave. What's that done for the defense?
Huge. I don't know what Darby's going to wind up being, but he was their best corner as soon as he stepped off the plane. I mean, they struggled so badly at that position for so many years, and it wasn't just they just weren't the guys that there just weren't cutting it during training camp. I mean, like I mentioned Patrick Robinson before. Jaden Mills has been okay, and I think he's got potential to be good. But I don't really remember like anybody else that's really been able to step up and really prove that they belong to be a starter in the league. And Darby has so much potential. His speed is just breathtaking. I mean, you can't beat the guy. Even if you get behind him, he's catching this. So I think he's going to be a really good fit for Jim Schwartz's defense as long as he lets him play man-to-man and play that aggressive defense that he likes to play. I think he's going to be a big upgrade for them.
Yeah, you mentioned that they've really struggled in that spot. They've tried. I mean, they brought in Fletcher and Williams and Maxwell and Nolan Carroll.
Fletcher, yep.
They have not had – I mean, I guess Asante is the last one that they've had that's been a pretty good player.
Yeah, Asante and Sheldon Brown, when they were together, that's probably like the best tandem they've had. And how long was that? Like 2008?
Yeah,
like
that was going back before the Dream Team. I mean, you had Samuel, and then they brought in Nnamdi, and they had Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie and Samuel. They tried all three of them for 1 year. That didn't work. They ended up trading Samuel to Atlanta, and they really haven't had a good guy since. So that position, Dave, went from a disaster to now salvageable, and are you intrigued by it?
Yeah, I am. Although I think there's some pressure on Jim Schwartz now that he has to be able to, and he showed a little bit last week. They have to blitz more than they're doing to give them to put some pressure on the quarterback, because there isn't a corner in the league that can cover a guy for more than maybe 3-4 seconds. So I think he has to change his philosophy a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive, and take some chances. And I think he can do that with Darby out there, because Darby's a very good physical corner, as is Jalen Mills. And I think Russell Douglas has the potential to be that too. He's a little bit rough around the edges. He maybe takes some chances that he shouldn't take sometimes. But, you can't fault him for his aggressiveness too. I think he's got a lot of potential as well. So I think they're on the right path. Although, like I said, Jim has to change his philosophy a little bit, I think.
Right, and of course he had said that he would like to blitz more, but it seemed like they couldn't with the guys they had back there. Darby maybe gives them that opportunity. Plus, it seems that they might have a better pass rush.
Yeah, that's true. Like you mentioned before, Barnett is. I think he's got the potential to be a double-digit sack guy. Maybe not as a rookie, but I think down the line. And Graham seems to be getting it better every year, even though he's like in his 6th or 7th year now. But he's done nothing but improve. And I think that the interior of the defensive line can't be underestimated either. Fletcher Cox, and I think Tim Jernigan was a huge pickup for them.
Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. Let me get your thoughts. They traded Jordan Matthews. Does that tell you that they trust Nelson Agholor?
I guess it has to be that way. I mean, or else why would they have traded him? I mean, it was clear that Jordan wasn't coming back after this year anyway, or they would have offered him an extension by now. So, I think they do trust Nelson, and he's probably been the most impressive guy in training camp as far as receivers go. Anyway, he's caught almost everything that's been thrown to him. Always staying late after practice, and I know he's shown that in the past to be a pretty good practice player. So it remains to be seen how that'll translate into the regular season. But he seems to have a better sense of self-confidence, better focus. Just from talking with him, after practices and stuff, he just seems to be really keyed into what he wants to accomplish this year and what he wants to help the team to accomplish. And I think that fact that they picked up Alshon and Torrey, that kind of takes the pressure off of Nelson a little bit. He doesn't have to be the guy that everybody expects to be the number one receiver, because quite frankly he's not a number one receiver. So I think this role is probably going to fit him pretty well, and I think he might have a pretty good year.
All right, tomorrow night the Eagles take on the Miami Dolphins, game number 3. You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, you also covered the boxing game for a long time, although I don't know that you would consider this a boxing match on Saturday night. You wrote a column about it today, how this has become more of a circus than an actual, what I was calling an event. It's even almost surpassing that.
Yeah, it's been a carnival. It really has. Just the thing was renounced. They've been going back and forth, and just they seem to set the bar lower and lower as to how you're supposed to behave and act towards people. And I'm really disappointed in the Las Vegas Commission. Like I wrote, that they actually sanctioned this as a boxing event. I mean, the fact that Mayweather wins, he's going to go to 50-0. There's no way this should count. It just couldn't. You can't you can't put one of the best, arguably the best boxer of this generation, in against a guy who's never had a professional boxing match ever, and expect that to mean anything. It should have been an exhibition. I mean, people still would have paid to see it. People still would have shown up to watch it. I just think they really dropped the ball on it.
Are you surprised at all of the buzz and the amount of people that are scurrying all over to find tickets to pay for a place to watch it?
Yeah. I mean, like the people and actually in Vegas, the ticket sales aren't going very well. I guess they really outpriced themselves. I think the cheapest seats are like $2,400 or something ridiculous like that. But I can kind of see the curiosity factor prompting people to want to watch it. That's kind of what's going to, if I do watch it, I'll probably go to Atlantic City, one of the casinos, Tropicana or Resorts or Bally's, and pay like $45 or whatever. But yeah, I can see where people will get like 10 guys together, chip in $10 each, and order on pay-per-view, because you have UFC fans there that are hoping McGregor can pull the upset, and you have like boxing purists who want to see Mayweather take them apart. And then there's guys like me that are hoping for a double knockout. So either way, I think it's kind of a fun event, I guess. I wouldn't consider it like a pure boxing fight,
no. And like my question is, okay, here's this huge event that everybody's like just curiosity. Okay, what if it's like, okay, no one knows who is this benefiting? Who knows? But what if it's a snore fest? What if it's a bore fest? I mean, would the two of these sides look at it and say, man, we really did more hurt than good? I mean, I guess they're making so much money, who cares? But in the end, is there something bad that can come out of a bad event?
Yeah, I think so. Although I don't see how. I think Mayweather just. I don't see how he wins in this scenario. Even if he's making $200-300 million, right. So it's tough to consider him a loser. But if he wins, everybody's going to say big deal. You beat a guy who's never had a fight before, and if he, God forbid, he loses, his legacy is ruined forever. Whereas McGregor really has nothing to lose. I mean, if he gets knocked out or gets beaten, so what? If he's competitive or manages to score the upset, then he's got his money. He's got his meal ticket punch for the rest of his career. So I don't see how there's any good that comes out of it from a pure sports perspective, though. But these guys are making millions of dollars, so I guess you can't fault them for wanting to put it together.
Well, I guess if it turns out to be an entertaining night and it turns out to be a great event, will we start to see more of these exhibition-esque type events get sanctioned?
That's a tough call, because I don't know of any other UFC guys that'd be willing to make that jump. I mean, John Jones probably could have, but he tests positive for something every time he fights. So maybe there's an avenue where a boxer tries to make the transition over to MMA, and they go the other way and sanction that. Although I can't see how a boxer would be able to hang in with a guy in the cage.
Right.
But no, I'm sure people would pay to see it if it's the right match of personalities and skills. Maybe they would. I don't know.
So, do you have any thought of how this fight will look or go?
Well, I think this all depends on how Mayweather wants to approach it. He could stay on the outside and embarrass McGregor, and that would kind of be a boring way to put it, but that's the way Floyd's always fought. He doesn't take unnecessary risks. But if he wants to make it entertaining and wants to go after McGregor, then it could be a pretty good fight. I don't see how McGregor wins, to be quite honest. I just don't get it. I mean, people talks about anybody can land a punch, but it's not someone who's never had a professional fight before. Then that doesn't happen very often. If Miguel Cotto couldn't hurt him, if Arturo Gatti, who's the toughest guy I've ever seen in the ring, if he couldn't get to him, if Oscar De La Hoya couldn't get to him, Canelo Alvarez, then I don't see any way in the world that Conor McGregor can.
Dave Weinberg is in the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame. He's covered the sport for a long, long time. Probably have not seen an event quite like this one, right?
No, I guess the closest was probably Ray Mercer and Kimbo Slice at the Boardwalk Hall about 10 years ago, where they had and I was correctly sanctioned as an exhibition fight.
Right. Now, you had been on here before and said that you do not believe New Jersey would have sanctioned this fight.
Nope, no way. I know for a fact they would not have sanctioned it as a boxing fight. It would have been an exhibition if they were going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see it all unfold on Saturday night. We know we have tickets to give away a little bit later for the Tropicana viewing, which the tickets are $45, $75 on the day of. So you want to get them early now through Ticketmaster or listen for your chance to win them here today on the show. Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City. Who wins? Mayweather easy? How's it going?
Oh, Mayweather creams him. Yeah, he knocks him out.
Is it going to give us 3-4 rounds?
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah, maybe 4 or 5. Because, it's McGregor's going to come out like a bull and try and land this big shot. He's going to get tired out. Mayweather's going to just pick him apart and then stop him.
Read Dave's article, his column on the Mayweather-McGregor circus at pressofatlanticcity.com. Thanks, Dave.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.